I mean, so yeah. Yes, getting up like that.
Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Central Otago District Council. Welcome Julie, great to meet press in attendance in the room, and welcome to our guests for the public forum who will be with us shortly. I will open the meeting with karakia. Ka hole tahi o tato, taia te mahi na mahi I taia o tato katoa. Not one of us alone can do the job, as well as all of us working together, which I think is a great karakia for the start of the council meeting. So first up, we have apologies from councillors Gillespie, McPherson and King. If somebody wants to move those, thank you, Lindley. And the seconded by Tracy. All those in favour? Aye, against, carried. And that moves us to the public forum. And first up from the Mingu Hitakia catchment group, we'll have Claire Hadley, supported by Harriet Chop. Welcome, folks. Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I believe there may be a presentation that's preloaded and ready to go. I certainly think so.
Magnificent. You are in Wayne's hands. We're in your hands. We'll.
Thank you. And I would agree. What a wonderful karakia, and how nice to hear one in a council chamber like that. I'm here to present this presentation from MCG, as the Mayor said, supported by Harriet. I describe myself as the bake, Harriet's the farmer. So if at the end of the presentation we've got any questions, I will defer to Harriet, as she'll have more knowledge. Look, first off, I'd say, I think we all have the same vision. You're here representing the wider Central Otago District. We all want to see a thriving valley community that uses the water in a sustainable and cooperative way. We all want to work together as a connected community. Only by doing so will we create amazing outcomes. And we all want to maximise the economic contribution of the primary sector, remembering that agriculture contributes 20% of the economy of Central Otago. And I saw a statistic last week that Food and Fibre puts out 13.1% across the country, 20%, 1 in 5. It's hugely significant. So on the next slide, we have information about the fact that the Otago Regional Council are proposing to notify their land and water plan with a minimum flow in 2028 of 1,100 litres a second at campground. Concerningly, they're proposing that in 2040, that 1,100 litres a second would raise to 2,500 litres a second. So we sat and did some back of the envelope calculations. And the first is the impact on land values. And I know that's the one that you will be most interested in. And the other is the impact on water available for irrigation. So if we look at what that means in terms of impact on land values, the land values in the Manahira Valley, and I don't refer to either valley, and it's only for pastoral farming, it's about $85,000. If we go to the next slide, if the land, sorry, 35,000 a hectare. If the land is not irrigated, the value drops to $10,000 a hectare. Without irrigation, the estimated reduction in value will be $212 million. That will flow through to quotable valuations for those properties, which will flow through to the work that you do in allocating the cost across the district. The second thing that we've looked at is what it would mean. If you think about the amount of water, and 1,100 litres a second doesn't mean anything to you, actually, if you raise that to 2,500 litres a second, what we know from a back of the envelope calculation is that if you put that figure on last year's irrigation season, you would need full stand to be 2.5 times the size it is. And as of January of 2024, even with full stand 2.5 times its size, the irrigators would have been down to 25%. So you can see that the impact on Alexandra, on the irrigators, on our contribution to the country as a whole, would be significantly limited if the minimum flow is increased to 2,000 litres. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Nigel.
You said the slide, on the slide, there's 8,500 hectares of irrigated land. Can you tell me how many farms that represents?
That's a good question. We'll have to come back to you on that.
I could tell you that there's roughly 700 members in Manahira here. So if you took out the number in Ida Valley, you would have the number for the number of farms,
Irrigated farm.
of irrigated farms. That would include lice farms.
Wood.
Would, yes. As Harriet says, we'll come back to the start so that that figure can be shared with you on the number of farms that are in the production space.
No one else?
Scary numbers.
Scary numbers, and I think that's for people in the towns, the concern that some have is the shops will shut. But the way the rating system works is if the value of the land around us goes down and the rates still have to be paid, then those whose land isn't going down, the rates will go up. And that's going to have a major impact on urban rates. Significant. And I don't know if that's something that we've really raised around this table. So thank you for showing on that different light on.
I agree with you all. Very scary figures, something you need to be aware of. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
There we go.
Right, we now move to, we have online, right?
Denise Grant.
Excellent. Denise Graham is from Victim Support, one of our grant applications for our first paper that will be coming up. So there we are. Brilliant. Welcome, Denise. Can you hear us on there, Tim? It's a pleasure to see you.
Yes, I can. I think my mic has been disabled though. Can you hear me?
Coming through loud and clear. So the floor is yours. Hang on.
You've managed to mute yourself.
Somehow you've now muted. You were loud and clear.
Kia ora.
You're off now.
Kia ora koutou. Ko Denise Graham ahau, ko whai kai whakahaere, putia, ko manaki tangata Victim Support. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe. Thank you for inviting me to join this forum this morning. We're a first-time funder with the council, as you know. I do understand that our application isn't well supported at the moment, so I would like to talk a little bit about our need in the region, and then second part I'd like to talk, if I may, about our recent victim blaming research. So we are really under-resourced in the region. We actually met with Todd Stevenson last week to talk about the under-resourcing in the region and how difficult it is to recruit volunteers. We need to employ an additional support worker in the region. At the moment, we have one part-time team leader, Ashley. She's the only staff member we have serving the region, which we know has around a 2.4 year-on-year population increase, is one of the fastest growing regions in the country with around 100,000 people during peak season. We also have huge geographical challenges with our two main offices being 94 kilometres apart. And although we have 3 volunteers with 3 more applications in the pipeline, that is admirable, but it is not sustainable and it is leading to gaps in our services. We have offices based at the police stations in Cromwell, Queenstown and Alexandra. We have actually just had confirmed funding last Friday from the Central Lakes Trust, who again is a first-time funder for us in the region supporting our mahi, but that is still only 14% of our operating expenses. We know that supporting victims is key to justice system engagement, crime prevention, public safety and confidence, and savings across multiple indices. Victim support can be a game changer for victims, the criminal justice system and the country, and that is supported by the international research showing that supporting victims results in significant savings across multiple health, social and economic indices, including crime prevention. In the last 12 months, we supported around 300 people in the region. We know that for every 10 people, for every one person we support. There are approximately 10 other people who are directly affected by the incident of that victim. It can be a work colleague, it can be whānau, family, school friends. When the incident is one of suicide or homicide, we can, hundreds and hundreds of people are affected by that. Whole communities are affected by that. So just the need in the region, letting you know that we are really, really under-resourced. It's been really, really hard for us to tap into funding stakeholder engagements in the region. And like I said, Central Lakes Trust have just confirmed that they will support us. That was last Friday. So I'm really happy to answer any questions in support of our application, but I would also like the opportunity to talk further about our victim blaming research and how council might engage with us, not directly with funding, but certainly with supporting the mahi and building resilience in your community with some knowledge about the research that we've done with victim blaming. Kia ora.
Thanks, Denise. I might get you to continue with the victim shaming part of it. I'm just conscious that we've got 5 minutes for each public forum speaker. It's easier to keep track of where you're at if we keep going and then have questions at the end.
Thank you so much. So victim blaming research and the launch of our victim blaming campaign is currently underway. We've been really well supported with this with Go Media. We've had some great billboards. We're on our Facebook and social media pages. Our country has a culture of victim blaming that's deeply embedded, where nearly every aspect of a victim and their circumstances is used against them, primarily and surprisingly by family and friends. 61%, in fact, of people who are victim blamed are by the people that they love. Our current criminal justice systems treat an offender until innocent. Oh, sorry, an offender is innocent until proven guilty, but a victim is guilty until proven innocent. Blaming the victim deflects blame from the perpetrator. Victim blaming has a destructive impact, causing deep hurt, loss of safety and mental health issues, including feeling suicidal. It prolongs recovery and prevents victims from seeking support from social networks or counselling. 52% of our research participants would be deterred from reporting future crimes, and we already have a significant issue in New Zealand where only 28% of crime is reported. We want to shift societal views by changing the script of victim blaming. We want as many people as possible to sign our pledge to let victims know when a crime is committed against them, it is not their fault. Head to our website, read our research, change the script. If someone you love comes to you with a crime against them, don't say, "Were you drinking? Why were you out late at night alone? Why do you advertise you are part of the rainbow community? You knew what they were like, why didn't you leave them?" Please tell them it's not your fault and help make a society-wide mindset shift to stop victim blaming. Kia ora.
Kia ora. I think it's hard to disagree with anything that you just said, Denise. Questions, councillors, and make sure you speak up so Denise can hear. Lindley.
It's great that you've got the funding from the Central Lakes Trust. Have you applied to other funding agencies as well, like lotteries or Bonnet Lodge or Otago Community Trust?
Yes, so we have applied to New Zealand Community Trust and been declined, but we keep trying. We have applied to Otago Community Trust and the funding pool was small and it was applied to our Otago region. So yeah, we have applied to many other funders in the region, but not been supported so far. We have a pending application also for the first time alongside your council with the Russell Henderson Trust. The outcome is still pending with that application. Yeah, so we just don't know at this point. I think we find out the end of September whether we were successful with that one or not.
Excellent, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No, in that case, Denise, thank you. My wife used to be a victim support worker, so I know what you and your people go through. So
thank you.
Thank you for your mahi, no matter what the outcome of today, it's greatly appreciated, and keep up the great work for people in our community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for the opportunity. Ka kite.
Happy day. Sarah? Okay, we'll move on to Fiona from Volunteer South regarding Huddle. No, she actually.
No, I was again Fiona.
Okay, David. Good, David, you're familiar with this process, so welcome.
Thank you very much. Morning, everybody. I will be very brief. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today in support of our funding application. I'd like to provide a brief update on what we've been up to since presenting our accountability report in May. It's been a busy few months. Our membership has continued to grow with the addition of 3 new members: Old Cromwell Incorporated, Paihaiata Natural Heritage Trust, and the Maniatoto Early Settlers Museum. This brings our membership base to 32 organisations, all with a focus on heritage in the region. Our oral history project has received further funding with a $9,500 grant from the Lotteries Environment and Heritage Fund and a second tranche of funding from Central Lakes Trust. The oral history project now has a new manager. Joanna Lee brings a wealth of experience working with young children and adult learners in the education sector, both in New Zealand and overseas. Last month, we organised a full-day oral history training workshop to replenish our pool of volunteers. We now have 16 new volunteers trained in using internationally recognised standards and best practices for recording oral histories. Our Heritage Talks programme continues to attract significant interest in the community, with most events being oversubscribed. Most recently, in late May, we had the prehistoric Lake Manihirakia talk at Central Stories, which was repeated at Clyde Museum due to high demand. Both were full houses. In July, we organised a book launch in Cromwell, recognising the efforts of frontline surgeon Douglas Ipling, a part of the Cromwell Jolly family. And last week, we enjoyed a talk about the night skies of Central Otago at Central Stories. Coming up next on 25 September, we have a talk about the life and times of Vincent Pike. And then on the 20th of November, as part of our AGM, we have guest speaker James Beattie, an associate professor from Victoria University, talking on the experiences of the Chinese on the Otago goldfields. In July last year, we received a grant from Tourism Central Otago to produce heritage-related imagery. Over 175 photos entered into our Heritage in Focus photography competition can now all be downloaded in high resolution from our website's image library, which went live just a couple of weeks ago. We continue to publish our quarterly newsletters, and I have a couple here. I'm not sure if people have seen them. I'll pass them around, which we do on a quarterly basis. Both booklet and in digital format, with the latest winter edition going out in mid-June. Our social media and website updates continue to inform the community about events, heritage funding opportunities, council initiatives, and more. We have much work ahead of us. We're hopeful that the consultation process planned to update the heritage provisions in your council district plan later this year will provide us with current community feedback on heritage, and therefore will help inform our trust's strategic direction. We work with Anne Rogers, our council liaison person, to see how we can make this happen. We'd also like to use this engagement opportunity to assess the benefits of council developing a wider arts, culture and heritage strategy for the region, similar to what has recently been achieved in the Queenstown Lakes district. Finally, we thank the council for the continued funding we received from the Contestable Community Fund, which continues to support our work across the district. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Questions, councillors?
Sorry, I missed the one part of it possibly. The images that you can download in high res from the website, do you need to pay for them or are they available to you?
No, they're available free. over 175, all highways, fantastic landscapes, buildings, cultural significance, etc. Yeah,
Amazing. Thank you.
good.
All right, thank you, Dave. Great to see you again. Thank you.
It's better to dial in with the owner.
Okay, we're just going to dial in Fiona from Volunteer South.
Oh, hopefully everything is, you just go. Okay. Okay, you're on speaker now.
Yes, we can. Welcome, Fiona. The floor is yours.
New base of other communities, Victoria, Otago District Council, Cromwell and District Community, District Council, also volunteer staff and the work that you have. The background of the own committee was formed in 2021 after identifying common challenges among community groups, including colleagues taking up with legislative requirements, finding skills, committee and board members, and elected clarity around strategic planning and governance. But how do we really recognize the vital role that community groups play in the social fabric of our region? And we want community organisations and their teams to feel supported, confident, and more effective in their roles. So what HUDL does is we give these groups the tools that they need to enable them to achieve more and have a deeper impact across the sector that they work in. So back to the generous funding last year from Central Otago District Council, HUDL has set up the foundation framework, and we're now in a process of launching the services into Central Otago. So the outcomes that have been achieved to date include through HUDL's backbone organisation, volunteer staff. I was employed as project lead and I've been in the role since May, end of May. Since I've started, I've been actively engaging with the community to identify opportunities to upskill and support community growth. And I've met with people in the Central Otago region, such as Bede Vipper from Central Otago Reef, Carol Williams from Arizona Community House, Carol Palmer from Cromwell Community House, and the feedback on the HUDL model has been really well received. And we're starting to receive referrals for HUDL support ahead of the public launch. To provide access to good information to community groups, we've been building an online knowledge hub that will provide access to best practice resources, templates, examples, guidance, and some of those upcoming funding opportunities in the region. And we've engaged a design and brand agency, Fluid, to develop a name and a brand that's really going to resonate with community groups. And we've worked really hard to refine that brand language and the tone, just to ensure that all of our communication is clear and accessible to the whole community. And we have worked with Fluid to develop a professional and user-friendly website design. So now the wireframe and the landing page is live, the wireframe's all in place. We're just in the process of compiling that content, which will be further developed over the next 12 months and expanded as HUDL grows. We're also undertaking a research project that has been distributed this week to best understand the needs of the community, and the results of the survey will directly impact the resources for the website and the services and the training that HUDL provides. We've also launched the Leadership and Governance Mentor Program in partnership with the Mentoring Foundation of New Zealand. So the orientation event for this year's cohort is tonight in Cromwell, and we had strong representation from Central Otago on the program. We had nearly 35 applicants for potential mentees on the program who applied over a 2-week period. We actually had to close registration to manage the demand. So the discussion with those potential mentees has revealed that many community groups are struggling with good governance, and they share a lot of common challenges in terms of navigating their roles around that strategic planning and processes. And there's really a need to enhance confidence and capability with our community leaders, as a lot of them were sharing feelings of isolation within their role. So the feedback has indicated that community groups are actively seeking support around governance and leadership and looking for opportunities for networking and for training. So Howard's really looking forward to supporting community groups through the mentor program that we're looking to run again next year. But we're also in the process of developing networking opportunities to help share skills among those groups and training sessions to support non-profits and ensure that they're strengthened and sustainable. We'll also be growing the tools and resources on our online knowledge hub and looking to provide personalised support through my role to guide people through processes, help identify the information that they might need and help navigate challenges and enable ideas.
Excellent.
Really,
That's perfect timing, because I was about to say that's the 5 minutes. Well done. Questions, councillors? I guess Tim? I guess I've got one, Fiona. This came to us as the Lighthouse Initiative a year ago, and I go to a lot of AGMs and so forth, and it's Mayor Tim here, sorry. I go to a lot of AGMs in my role as Mayor, and I do see at times the lack of governance skills and also, you know, working zero and things like that. People on the volunteer basis are really struggling, particularly with the greater requirements. So I was really excited to support the Lighthouse Initiative last year, but I've got to be honest, I'm sitting here today going, not a lot seems to have happened. I would have thought, you know, there would have been a bit more engagement with the volunteer sector. So in terms of assuaging my concerns there, what can you say to me in terms of what's happened in the last year? I mean, I realise you've set a lot up, but has there been a hold up, or was it always going to get a year to launch, or what?
Now, since May, we've actually been actively launching the mentor program, which again, we've set all of that up. The orientation is happening tonight. We have launched the landing page, and we just developed, pulling together all of those resources, and we'll be in the process of doing some launch events and running that training over the next few months.
Okay. Cool. All right. Any other questions, councillors? No? Excellent. Thank you, Fiona. Appreciate your time, and sorry for the technical issues if they were at our end. I don't know if they were or not. So.
Great.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. We might go to the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rebecca, Jan, and Brian from the Central Otago Arts Trust, come on up. And you're all well familiar with the process as well. It's great to see you.
Hi. Morning, everybody. And our thanks also for giving us this opportunity yet again. It's 15 years since I had the opportunity and the pleasure of becoming a trustee with CODAT, Central Otago District Arts Trust, which from now on will be Central Otago Arts. It's just easier. So therefore continuing my previous years of involvement with arts management and administration. And during that time, I've seen our Central Otago Arts Trust organisation grow from that embryonic stage right through to its birth, development and maturity that it holds now. Council-led community consultations throughout Central Otago led to the development of our arts strategy in 2009. It's a living document, regularly updated, whose principles and aims are just as relevant today as they were in 2009. From the beginning, there's always been one overriding commitment for us as trustees, and that is to continue to promote Central Otago as an arts destination. There'll never be a quick fix to this, we know, but now it's really encouraging to meet with and support newly arrived creative people whose work is inspired by our regional landscape and identity. Currently at the printers and ready to be picked up this afternoon is a brand new Arts Trail rack card highlighting artists' studios and galleries in the region, and you will notice on that document quite a lot of changes. This revised and updated Arts Trail guide can now be accessed by QR code. This makes it easy for us to add new members and it keeps the trail lively and innovative. So what have been some of the highlights of the last 15 years? First of all, how special it is to work with like-minded people who are as passionate about all aspects of the arts as I am. Being able to introduce local people to diverse and challenging art through our Arts Gold competitions, youth top art displays and other collaborative exhibitions and events. Becoming familiar with using social media channels, many of which were only in their infancy in 2009, and establishing a major annual literary event in Cover to Cover. Our next one is at the end of November this year, and planning is well underway. Also becoming involved with diverse ethnic groups through their sharing of arts and culture. And finally, the pleasure of meeting with the various residents of the Henderson House Artists in Residence program. How lucky, I don't know many other communities who have been so lucky to be able to host world-class musicians, jewellers, photographers, writers, painters and poets right here in Alex. Advocating on behalf of artists and growing ideas has also been very rewarding. The success of the Winter Stellar program in Central is due in large part to Central Otago Arts assistance, helping to grow a small idea into a significant and successful annual event. Started with Rebecca providing advice on things as simple as how to apply for funding and how to fill in the appropriate forms. It's not exciting, but it's, as we all know, a necessary part of our arts coordinator's role. Another of our local artists became a recipient of a major funding grant from Creative New Zealand earlier this year, after seeking advice from us about business mentoring programs. And if you look on the Creative New Zealand website and see how many grants are allocated to South Island artists, let alone Central Otago artists, you'll realise that that's a pretty huge accomplishment. A lot of information has been circulating recently about reducing the time devoted to music and art from the school curriculum. These are not nice to haves at all. Research over decades has shown that students learn better, that they have a greater sense of well-being, they're well-rounded and grounded achievers with a holistic view of life. We can't imagine our region or one of our local communities without a thriving art scene, and we will continue to do all we can to achieve this. Currently, one of our newer trustees, Isabel, is working on a long-term program specifically reaching out and targeting young people throughout Central Otago, and more of that will be revealed shortly. The developments which have taken place over the past 15 years could not have been undertaken in such a professional and empathetic way had it not been for the encouragement and ongoing financial support of Council. Providing us with the means to employ a regional arts coordinator has been absolutely invaluable. We thank you once again for your help and commitment throughout the last 15 years and can assure you that any further funding will see Kodak flourish for another 15 years. Finally, this will be my last presentation to council as I'm resigning as chair at our AGM tomorrow evening. I'd like to introduce you to my successor, Brian Budd, who many of you will know, and his commitment to music in the area is a very valuable asset. I'm going to be staying on the board for the next year to help with that changeover and to devote also more time to developing the cover-to-cover brand into a really sustainable project. So thank you once again, and please feel free to ask any questions.
Well, firstly, Jan, thank you for your many years as.
I think it might be a bit long.
Certainly not, Janet.
You can only gauge that by how happy people are over your announcement. I didn't see anyone smile. My smallest Brian's going to do a great job, I'm sure. So thank you for that, by Mahi over all those years. Councillors, questions?
I just have one. I'm really interested in the, I guess the map.
The new rat card.
Rat card, yeah.
Yes.
How do people
today.
How do people get access to that?
Oh, so we're collecting it. No, we're actually collecting it tomorrow because I can't get up from all today. So I'm collecting it tomorrow, and then we're going to create a distribution sort of database and identify places where it would be useful to pop them. But we're going to work with some of the cycle shops. We in general tend to work with eyesights. We will work with Brandville Eyesight and all of those people down there and make sure and we've got them in galleries and shops and just we're really ready to give them to whoever wants to take them. So yeah.
You may not realise, but in the past we've had more of a brochure. Yes. And of course it becomes outdated quite quickly. We've had, not to be too morbid, but we've had several artists who have died over the last few years, and so it needs to be a more organic item, really. So it's just a small rat card. It'll go into the same outlets as the other Arts Trail brochure did.
But if you have suggestions, feel free to fire them my way. Yeah, because we are trying to sort of develop more places that we can pop them. Definitely. It is a little bit challenging in that some of the places require money to hold the rat cards, and that's kind of an annual kind of thing that we just don't have the flexibility in our budget to allow. But any great ideas.
Nathan Store.
What was that?
Nathan Store.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Rebecca, I've just got one idea. Could you do a poster with QR code that could go into shop windows? Because if it's got a QR code that you can scan through rather than just have
a selling idea. Yeah, we've got a little in fact we probably have something that could service that.
Yes.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
We're very lucky in that one of our younger trustees is a graphic designer. So
yeah.
We're really lucky.
Yeah. A recent addition to the trust.
Just on the rat cards, do the artists make any contribution to the cost of publishing that rat card?
So no, they don't. So we've sought funding for the cost of that project, but the artists do pay an annual fee to be listed on our website, which is actually the Arts Trails project online. Yeah, so they pay something in the vicinity of $80 per year to be listed and to have 10 photos and to have instructions.
So the rat card is encapsulated in that.
Yeah. So the rat card directs people to that website. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for what you did.
Thank you.
Keep doing it. Back to you, Dan.
See you later.
We've just got one more, Sarah from Life Education Trust, Helen, and just see whether we can contact her.
Hello, Phil, we've been from Mr. Castle. I was putting you on, I'm doing big five. Okay. You hear me okay? Okay, great.
Kia ora, Sarah, it's Mayor Tim here. Welcome, the floor is yours.
Increasing number of issues that can seriously impact their well-being. Simply put, growing up at the moment isn't easy. Life Education Trust is on a mission to help this. We work closely with each teacher at school individually, creating a shared planning approach so that we meet the needs of each individual child within their community. From this, we develop a lesson overview and provide teachers with teaching resources to ensure that we are part of a continuous learning experience to support their children and their communities. Schools can choose how they use life education to support their children's health education. This can be food and nutrition, emotional resilience, or substances like alcohol and drugs. Another area that we are now looking at is digital literacy, because one of the things that teachers are reporting locally is that 61% of schools feel that online bullying is an issue for their students, and 71% of schools feel that digital distraction of devices within the classroom is also an issue. Additionally, 92% of local schools find anxiety as an issue with their students. Almost all schools use an external provider for health education, and a lot of them are using life education, yet we receive no government funding. Part of the reason that schools are using us is that teachers don't feel confident in presenting these lessons themselves. And also, a lot of the feedback we get is that being outside of a normal classroom environment in our mobile classrooms, the lessons are easier to take in and some of the hard topics can be discussed more easily. Locally, 97% of teachers agree that we deliver lessons that meet the needs of their class. 98% agree we deliver positive outcomes for their students. And 99% would say that life education provides children with the information they need to make positive choices. So we run life education classes from our mobile classrooms, of which we now have a second. We were presented to you last year. This means that we can meet the needs of 90% of children aged 5 to 13 each year, visiting each school, or all the schools that 90% of schools anyway, each year. The funding from CRDC helps us to subsidise the school fees and the running costs associated with the life education program. As we don't receive government funding, we are reliant on grant funding, as well as donations from local service groups and other organisations locally. I won't read you the application, but if there are any questions, please let me know.
Councillors. I guess just from me, Sarah, Mayor Tim here again, I think for next year, presuming we're going to have, A, presuming we're going to have grants, and B, presuming we're going to get something from you, it's nice to have those summaries of comments from schools, but they're anonymised. I think, you know, maybe a letter from a couple of local principals supporting the program might add a bit more weight, might be a bit more helpful. Just a thought. Well, we don't need Harold.
In the budget.
No, we don't need Harold. But I think I would like to see that next time around, please.
I'll make sure they know that.
Yeah, Rebecca's got that. Try to bring her back.
And I think acknowledge the support that they play to teachers in tackling difficult subjects. We expect a lot from our teachers. That previously is a role that was filled by parents that is not always filled anymore. So
yeah,
I've got it.
Oh, sorry, we lost you there, Sarah, but I was just saying perhaps next time a couple of letters from principals and support. And Councillor Tamarelli was just recognising the work that Life Education Trust does, which sometimes seems now to be work that parents used to, but aren't anymore.
Which is amazing, but it's incredible she put it through. I will take that on board and make sure that we have letters of support in the future. With regards to families doing that job, I mean, I guess families do, but sometimes, let's be honest, the kids don't necessarily want to hear it from their families.
I think it's not that we think that you shouldn't be doing it, it's acknowledging that you fill a gap that otherwise we would potentially expect teachers to fill, and that's not appropriate either. So thank you for the making that you do.
So much.
Any other councillors' questions? Sarah, you might have to shout.
That's important. 90% of schools reached,
Is that a resourcing problem, schools not uptake, like what's that 10%, what's stopping that being 100?
Yeah, just the 10% of schools that aren't reached, is that a resourcing problem from Life Education Trust, or are those schools not interested?
The one Life Education mobile classroom, we were only able to see most schools on a biannual basis, so once every 2 years. So the schools have been budgeting for that. Now that we're able to offer it every year, schools are having to either relook at their budgets or some of them at this stage just cannot. Also, we do have some, I guess, special character schools that don't necessarily want life education, and that's, I guess, their choices.
Okay, thank you. That's good clarification. Everyone else is saying okay? All right, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate your time today, Sarah, and thank you for calling in.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right, thanks, councillors. That takes us to confirmation of the minutes on page 7 from our last meeting. Thank you, Tamer. Seconded, Sarah. No comments or queries? All those in favour, aye. Against, carried. Declaration of interest, step aside from decision making when a conflict arises, be that genuine, real, or just procedure. And do we have any?
Yes.
Tracy.
Me.
Go.
The next paper.
We're out of here for the next paper, thank you. And now it takes us to our much anticipated community board chair update, because we've got something special.
This is
As
exciting.
always, from Tamer Ellis from its community board. Look out.
Get ready. Get ready. Fire away, man.
You getting up with your laser? Do it properly.
That's in 5 minutes out.
No.
What we got going on there?
Well, this is our video, when there's
Right. So we've got elections going up.
Right. The update from the community board. Well, a previous 4 or 5 months for Vincent. I've gone back an extra month so that I can highlight some additional awesome events. The Eden Hall exhibition at Central Stories was well attended by locals and Hollywood celebrities alike. The backstory of Eden really is incredible, and while many of the garments are not to my personal liking, I did take time to the spectacular emerald green number in the video. While it's disappointing not to have a large-scale exhibition of garments in Central Otago just yet, I'm looking forward to travelling to Toitu and Dunedin when many go on display there next year. Anzac Day services were well attended throughout the ward, which is always inspiring, including at Clyde, where we all enjoyed a relatively short service in what felt like minus 17 degrees. As noted by the Mayor on the day, an excellent time to reflect that the peace hard won by our previous generations is not guaranteed, and we must continue to acknowledge those who made the ultimate sacrifice in years before us. Clued Up Kids was run at the Molyneux Stadium, attended by council staff and organised by our great Civil Defence Emergency Management team. The enthusiasm from the kids to attend and participate highlights that in an emergency you should probably ask your children what to do and where to go. We continue to receive reminders via Mother Nature that today could be the day. Please ensure you have supplies ready to go and plan for your family. Possibly the best Aurora Australis of a generation was enjoyed by many given the number of photos flooding Facebook. Alexandra Airport provided front row seats to a delightful display, and those with cameras a bit flashier than an iPhone were out in force collecting entries for the Winter Stellar Night Sky photo competition. The resulting movie and accompanying composition that was premiered a few months later was nothing short of spectacular and can be viewed on the big screen at Central Stories up until early October. A number of community events took place, including the first stages of planting at Half Mile Reserve. It was truly amazing to be part of this event after what has been a bit of a rough road to get there. Many lessons have been learned along the way. The turnout of staff, elected members, community members, kids and whole families was incredible, and I think highlights how far we had come on this journey. I'd like to acknowledge the work of Haiata Trust in getting to this point. Speaking of epic community contributions, 2 separate visits with MPs and ministers to the Thompson Catchment Project highlighted more environmental mahi from our communities. If you've not yet had the opportunity to visit the wetlands, then I strongly encourage you to do so. They can be viewed easily from the rail trail just out of the Alexandra Ice and Line is well into their first season under the new roof. I hear the quality of the ice is now some of the best in the country. Our schools have loved attending ice skating lessons, rain, hail or shine, without the kids swimming on the surface, especially some of these warmer days that we've had. Not many children in New Zealand get this opportunity, and I think sometimes we do take it for granted a bit. And they have also seen a huge growth in the number of members, especially those playing ice hockey, which is exciting for us here. Continuing in the excitement for Alexandra was our spectacular showing at the Paris Olympics, contributing 2 medals to the Hall of New Zealand. We've often punched well above our weight when it comes to producing outstanding athletes, and this is absolutely the icing on the cake. I'm very much looking forward to the public events in coming months where we can all celebrate with both Finn Butcher and Nicole Shields. Coming up, Riverside Park is underway. You may have spotted a clip towards the end of the video of the before at the site. This is another example of the Vincent community members tackling the project to benefit us all. After many, many years of hard work by a few, it is exciting to think we will be enjoying this area so much more come Christmas. Jaden notes that the team are working hard to bring this project in on time and on budget, unlike any episode of Grand Designs he has ever seen. Thanks very much to Jaden for being the VCB voice on the project group, and to Mana Whenua. And I believe this is the first project for CODC of this kind. We're a true partnership from the beginning between us, our community, and Mana Whenua. Excited to see the story of this area being told in a meaningful way that highlights the significance of the location for Māori. The recent economic development report from Benji Patterson highlighted a couple of surprises. Firstly, that Vincent's GDP and number of jobs remains the highest in the district, but also that this trend is expected to continue through 2048. It is, of course, an estimated figure, but I think highlights that and vigilant to opportunities and not kick back and let Cromwell take all the heavy lifting. On that, there was previously an error in the numbers that we had highlighted at the last meeting. With much glee, sadly, Vincent does not have the fastest growing younger populations. That title is, of course, held by Cromwell. And I suspect that this is because I have 2 children while Councillor Brown has contributed 4.
Try harder, Councillor.
No. While our productivity as a district sits at 11% below the national average, the fact 90% of GDP in the district comes through Vincent and Cromwell indicates to me that the 4 wards are intrinsically linked and mutually dependent, especially as one of our 2 biggest contributors, and Claire Hadley highlighted that as well, is agriculture and is of course the lifeblood of our neighbouring wards. VCB recognises the need to diversify council income streams and will continue to look for opportunities to partner, support and enable investment in our towns, especially if it doesn't come at a cost to us, given the recent telling off from the Minister. As we await the final appeal process of Plan Change 19, we are aware of the costs of infrastructure to enable the opening up of potentially rezoned land and the need for prioritisation of this work. Housing affordability and availability continues to be a challenge across our wards and is already an impediment to growth for some companies in our area. While we recognise there is no silver bullet in the pipeline, VCB would like to ensure that any collaboration, incentives or great ideas for the QLVC Cromwell area continue to also investigate options through this end of the gorge. The resilience of our power network remains a worry, with unscheduled and scheduled outages continuing to impact residents and businesses across the cold winter months as Aurora upgrades their network. And we would also welcome the expansion of fibre to more areas in Vincent, including Ophir and the area between Alex and Clyde. Health Central opened their new, there's just so much happening in Vincent. Health Central opened their new multi-million-dollar investment in Central Otago, and we need area to ensure equitable access to health across the district is the aim of the game. The Clyde birthing unit is now scheduled to get underway in 2025, but we will watch this space as the goalposts seem to move continually. Fragmented services across our district and our neighbours' district is not the best use of resources, and the fact that one already has a hospital needs to be factored into future decisions on where services are best placed. While VCB does not have an active role to play in this space, we would certainly be interested in an advocacy role. The substantial upgrades to the Clyde CBD are looking great. However, we acknowledge that the community are now very wary of the continual upheaval. As a result of dissatisfaction and feedback from some businesses and residents, I'm confident we've improved our communications to this area and have taken learnings from this to any future projects. You can never have too much information out there, so long as it is accessible to those who are interested in looking for it. A very big thanks to our project team and to Fulton Hogan for working together on this, including fronting a couple of somewhat spicy public meetings. There are a couple of business premises for sale in Alexandria that present an amazing opportunity for new entrants to our economy. There is still a substantial amount of pressure on the economy, especially in the rural sector, but as we see interest rates ease slightly and primary commodity prices start to stabilise and in some cases increase, I'm hopeful that the survive to 2025 mantra is seeming like not far off. We're now 119 days off Christmas. So if you have things you want to achieve in 2024, you best to get your skates on. I would like to thank my fellow VCB members for their incredible efforts over these past months and to the VCB community, especially those who have submitted on the districtisation proposal, which closes on Saturday. Thank you.
Awesome. Right, that's the end of the meeting. Thank you. That's well done. Covered most of the things.
Any questions?
Not a question, but a comment. I was at business breakfast with Alex this morning, and Andrew King, the new principal of Dunstan High School, pointed out some whiz kid up there has calculated that if Dunstan High School was a nation, it would have got 54th at the Olympic Games. Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
All righty, thank you very much, Taylor. An excellent report. And hey, the floor's still yours. We're on page 22 for the grant applications. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome, Rebecca and Dylan. The report you'll find in the main agenda, but of course the attachments are in separate items.
Some of the very hard meeting. It was great to see so many grant applicants today speak to you directly, and I just note the apologies that we've received from Sport Otago, Central Otago Health and Plunkett, who just weren't able to make our time slot, but they it wasn't because they didn't want to be here. So annually, council has $151,000 to distribute in its district-wide community grants pot. This year, we've received 8 applications requesting a total of $166,872. And that included new applications from Victim Support and Plunkett. Central, just noting a couple of points from the applicants that weren't able to be here. Central Otago Health Inc. have recently reviewed their purpose and are updating their constitution. That was as a result of the incorporate changes to the Incorporated Society Act, but they found that a very useful process and looking at how they become a better organisation going forward. So that was great to hear. And the Plunkett, I'd just note that we included a document. I posed new questions to Plunkett and they respond about the community activity, and they responded, and that's included in your supporting documents on page 165 of that extra piece, which just explains about their activities locally. In terms of the applications, the Central Otago Health Heritage Trust, Kodak, Life Education and Central Otago Health all applied for the same amount as what they received last year. Sport Otago have requested an increase of $1,868 to up to $48,312. I'll just note they did receive an increase last year. Ultimately, we've received more applications than we have money to allocate, and we need to make decisions. So my questions are just recommendations only. I have given Wayne a table that I remember to include it in the attachments this time, so that we can adjust the figures. If you want to adjust the figures, you can see how that plays. I'll just respond to the question that you raised about Huddle. So I have been part of that group, and it was about securing enough funding to be able to continue with any activity. And then the main negotiation has been with Department of Internal Affairs. They currently aren't funding the project. We're hopeful that we continue to build relationships with them to do so. For me personally, the collaboration that has enabled has been remarkable, and it's like I'm going to the induction session tonight for the mentoring scheme, and it's really good to start helping those grassroots organisations collectively, and I hope it's successful. But that was the hesitate, the delays directly related to that. Ultimately, grants enable council to support an incredible amount of activity across our community. You've heard from the different projects today from Heritage Arts, Huddle and Victim Support, and there's many more examples. What often council grants do is provide base funding for operational costs so that they can then apply for project funds to other funders. And that's the beauty of council funding is, like, for example, Otago Community Trust will not fund operational costs, they will only fund projects. And so someone like Kodak gets the base from funding from us that enables them to apply to OCT for their projects. And that in turn brings money into the district. So that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I have. Plunkett Society, in the Mini Otago, the Plunkett Society, when they took over Plunkett, the funds that were raised by the community for landfilling, then went to national body. So why is the national body coming back to ask for funds they already had?
I'm up to this question, sorry.
Thank you.
I could possibly comment, and not specific to that point, but what we are seeing is a growing trend of seeing organisations that may be funded traditionally through a national organisation are seeing their funding being pulled back, and so they're now coming to other areas like our funding pots.
They possibly be better off leaving their funding where it was originally set up.
When it goes to the national body, it is need to be earmarked for the district that has raised the fund.
No, there was a lot of money there. They will need $4,000 now. And the health one, is that because we own equipment in the health?
So that, so CO Health Inc.
is the body that owns the assets and that fundraises for the assets for the hospital. And so there's always been a relationship between that organisation and CODC about CODC supporting the administration of that entity to then get on with its business, which is raising money for equipment for the hospital. Is that a fair summation?
So what's stopping the new Taylor Hospital doing the same? Nothing.
Right, I've got three things. Thanks, Tana. Firstly, just noting that between what the Prime Minister said about getting rid of the 4 well-beings and financial pressures with the LTP next year, I think there needs to be fair warning to people who have had grant after grant after grant from us. This might be our last grants round. We might be kicked out of this game, or we might take ourselves out of it. I just think it would be wrong not to give the heads up that that could happen. I'm not saying it will. I think, Rebecca, the work you've done is very good. And I think not for a moment would I denigrate the work of victim support nor of Plunkett, but the concept that when we are starting to see national organisations come to us because national funding is being cut, if we open that floodgate, where's that going to leave our local organisations? And I think not just this council, but every council in the country should shut the door to that floodgate. When I used to sit on Central Lakes Trust, we used to go, that is not our job, that is somebody else's job, and we've been asked to do it. And I feel that you've done the right thing here, which leaves the split of the other money. And I look, for me, we could sit here and argue about 50 grand here, 3 grand there, but I think you've got it around about right. Thank you for that. The fact that we don't have a second funding round is just the reality of it. If we try to penny pinch here in the hope that we've got some money for a second round, it's just going to create more work and hopes that won't be fulfilled. So with Madam Chair's permission, I'll probably just recommend that we get on with move your recommendations.
Then let's second that next time. Yep, any further discussions, Jim?
So they are as proposed here.
So on page 4 of the additional paper.
And it's up on the screen as well. There's something I prepared earlier.
Are there any comments on those numbers?
Oh, no, I haven't got a comment on the numbers. I just had a comment on the last 2 years. That's pretty much all of the money's been given at the first round. So I'm just kind of wondering if we should just have annually 1 round, not 2, to make it easier for people. Because some
for council,
yeah, but then there's no money to give the community in the second round. We haven't done that.
There is not for district, but there is for community boards. So the grants round is both. So we have a grants round that's open for council and community. We make it very clear on the website that that there are no funds. We already have an application come through from Youth Town, which is again another national organisation wanting to apply for funding from the district. And I was waiting for today's meeting to go back and advise.
Right.
No, but the grant round will be open for all for community boards because they'll all have funding available for a second round, potentially.
And the grants policy, do you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, so I was just right now, so we are about to start doing the review of the grants policy, going through the community boards first, then back to council. So that's part of the LTP work program. So in that policy review, there'll be an opportunity to review timing of grant and which department. So that might be a consideration for the council.
Any further comments, questions? Yeah. In that case, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts in that too.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nigel.
Thank you, Mayor. We have item 34.10.4 review of fees and charges for hazardous waste disposal, and we have Lauren. Thank you.
I think the report is brief, but just to summarise, the waste had quite a few variants it's waste over the last few years, and we found through the processes the existing pricing schedule is not very user friendly, and therefore doesn't provide very good awareness around hazardous waste fees. So we're just looking to update that to make it a lot more user friendly for our community. Happy to take questions.
Breakfast questions?
I did have one via Deputy Mayor Gillespie, who's not able to be here. The fire extinguishers at $11. He noted that some fire extinguishers are really big and others are really small. Was there a reason why it's just the standard price?
Because it costs the same per unit. It's just a unit price.
Unit price. So the people who take it from us charge a unit price, so we charge a unit price. Beautiful. Thank you.
Sorry, there's just one other edit. With regards to class 3 brake fluid, it's missing a $5 on the table, as well. That just needs to get updated for Wednesday, if accepted. Yeah.
How are these been displayed at the transfer station?
We will, we've printed out and put it up on the kiosk so that everybody knows when they arrive.
Any other questions, comments? It's pretty straightforward. Oh, sorry.
That makes sense, just agreeing.
Yeah. Okay. Will I have a move up? I'll do that. So Tracy, any further comments? All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes. No. So, Lauren, are you talking to the item this afternoon on the tyre?
Yes. I'll be back.
All right, thank you. Nigel, planning and regulatory, in the absence of the two lead and the deputy lead on that, I'll fill that gap. Page 30, dog control policy, fascinating reading. Kia ora, Ryan and Lee. It's most interesting. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Here to present the dog control policy and practices report. Dog Control Act 1996 requires council to report on the administration of its dog control policy and practices each financial year. I take the report as read. Is there any questions?
I've got one. I just wondered, page 34, there's a substantial increase in the number of complaints about barking dogs, and I wondered if we had any historic numbers to indicate whether there was a correlation between more people working from home and more people complaining about barking dogs.
Not that I'm aware of at this stage. However, we've seen an increase in our stats overall. Most of that is due to what we believe is the service the community is getting has improved substantially. More people are likely to report their issues to council knowing that something will be done proactively. So when you have a service that's providing a good service, you know, people talk about that, they're more likely to report on it, I believe.
I am seeing and hearing that feedback, so.
Thank you.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have we, I brought this up many years ago, probably way before both of you guys' time. Have we got an ability to put down dogs or have a service that's quite expensive? If you have a broken relationship, which we have lots of in the community, someone's left with a dog they don't want or need, it's really quite expensive. Do we have a pick-up, drop-off service? You know, you might try to rehome a dog, but in some situations they can't be. And a lot of them will just be let free. So have we got a service where we can provide assistance to get one euthanized, I guess I'm saying, on behalf of the ratepayer?
Absolutely. Yeah. But first of all, it would have to be reported to me. I would go out there and investigate, uplift the dog if possible. If it's roaming, quite hard to find. But if it's secured somewhere and it's been abandoned, for example, we'd take that dog on. We'd hold it in the pound for 7 days. There was much communications we could to the community about somebody that may own the dog or know something about it. Failing that, within 7 days, we would look to either rehome that dog through our contacts, local contacts, or euthanise that dog through the veterinary service.
Can it cost to us or the person we don't know if it's unhomed if they don't know whose dog it is?
It'll be a cost to us.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Does somebody want to move that report?
I'll do that.
Thank you, Stu. Seconded Tamer. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Keep up the great work. And certainly you're making a difference out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Recording, Stu.
Okay. Well, you think 24.10.6, mobility park in Carter Street. Gentlemen.
Morning all. Yeah, so we've had a request for an additional mobility park on Carter Street outside the work and income building. Apologies for the use of acronyms in there. Yeah, one's obviously is Ministry of Social Development, Work and Income, Te Ranga Tangata. So purpose of the report to consider the installation of that mobility park outside the Work and Income building, 57 Tarkin Street, Alexandra, with recommendations that A, council receive the report and accept the level of significance, and B, approves the installation of a restricted parking area for a new mobility park outside 57 Tarkin Street, Alexandra. So a bit of background, we received a reasonably recent public request to place an additional park outside that building. It is high use, and obviously people with mobility issues are frequenting the Work and Income office for obvious reasons. Currently, there are no mobility parks at all on that side of the street, on Target Street, let alone in that location. There are a couple on the opposite side of the road near the memorial, and also near the chemist as well too. But as a tricky intersection to cross, you know, even for able-bodied people, it's a reasonably tricky intersection to cross, let alone you know, being in a wheelchair or otherwise. During the process, we also talked to Work and Income New Zealand and particularly the security guards that are out there all day, every day, and they concurred that they do have a lot of people with mobility issues coming into the premises. And in time they've identified another safety issue with the actual access way crossing that's there at the moment. And part of the works will include removal of part of that island to allow easier access into that mobility park, but also to improve the grading so that remove the safety issue, particularly around scooters, like I've seen wheels lifting off the ground crossing that intersection. Yeah.
Is we came back for any questions?
Yeah. Any questions? No.
You've got it prepared earlier. That is quite a difficult park to park in.
Yep.
And we've seen some very questionable parking abilities over the years.
Yeah.
Can you explain through how that will be made safe? So A, it's easier to park in, and B, if you're parking and exiting the vehicle and then trying to get yourself into your wheelchair off your roof, and then with the traffic island in the middle, how easy is that as the park going to be for people to be using?
Yeah. So if you on the first page of the report, you'll see the little triangular island that's there, Tona.
Yeah.
So that's been removed completely. So that's going to lengthen that area quite considerably. And then also in conjunction with the regrading of the footpath, the road and the curb and channel, there'll be a drop curb going in along that footpath, which allows people to come around, exit the car, lift anything out of the car on that side, and obviously allow the person with the mobility issues, whether it's them themselves, to actually get their get the gear out of the car or their assistant out of the car without having to step up over the curb, basically. So, there'll be cross action going into that area that's being removed as well. The person can try and squeeze in there and behind it, and in addition to that, a wheel stop as well too for that part, just to give a bit of protection for anyone that's, you know, if there's someone reversing into that park, they've actually got a physical barrier that will stop them driving right back across the pedestrian access across the Carter Street. Yeah.
Perfect. And will that drop curb extend the whole way along those 3 car parks, or just for that one that'll be?
Just for
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Proceed.
Enforcement.
Yep. So to have this, so this is the first part of the process for us. So under the bylaw process, any restricted parking is a decision of council, and then we have scheduled one of our bylaw which maps all of these areas for enforcement. There are, through our parking assessment, having our friendly parking reminders and everything like that, we realise there are some missing signs and some potentially missed signs as well. So we're working through all of those for the whole entire district that have parking restrictions and collating that and updating those maps, and then we'll come back to council refreshed and everything like that. And that dictates our ability to enforce. With regards to enforcement itself, we do not have anyone at the moment to undertake enforcement, and through the annual planning process, we did not include an enforcement officer role as we worked through that process and looked at where we weren't going to add additional roles as part of that. We currently have $10,000 a year for enforcement, and part of that's actually the income from enforcement. So, and in terms of looking at someone, we would have to look at establishing a role or having additional funding to enable that. Typically, people don't choose to park in mobility spots. We've probably had more of a challenge around people parking longer than they should in time restricted parking, as opposed to mobility spots are typically kept available for people with the appropriate license. But again, that will come back as part of the LTP conversation if we want to look at having an enforcement officer role.
Certainly, when I did my rounds over summer, I don't think I had a single incident of people parking in disability parks. Although I understand from board member Bob Scott, it was a different story in Cromwell, but didn't have a problem in Alex.
Yeah.
I just can imagine that there's a security guard that's going to have a reasonably good eye outside the building and say, it's good there, would you like to disperse the next park forward?
Yeah, I'm thinking that too.
Yeah.
Quite entertaining, actually. Want any more questions?
Does that mean the ratio of parks there, it's quite high, there's 5 in that image, now we've added 1 in there.
Yeah.
What does that do to parking? Is that still sufficient parking for everybody else? Is it going to be detrimental to other parking?
So.
Yeah, they're all staying up there, those
Yeah, they are.
marked to stay.
Yeah, that's right. We're not looking at it. Consideration around that was probably particularly around the NZ Day services. Obviously, having a reasonable number of mobility parks in that area is quite important. Also, I know it's only 1 day of the year, but it's a perception thing. Secondly, I also directly consulted with a takeaway shop owner as well too, who is directly affected, and he was more than happy for it to go up. So I don't think we're going to see.
Again, one of those things that we can monitor and adjust with the 2 being left on the other side, but at this stage, both of those appear to be well used, with the chemist and that on that side as well, and the cafe, and the other 2 are quite far away. Different things.
But yeah, you imagine that the 2 basically, there's the pharmacy on one side and he's there in the middle. So it's a minimum of 1 each. That in the middle, if it is superfluous, you could take that out and just turn that back into.
Potentially, that's something that we can monitor, but at this stage, it's as part of this report, it's not intended to change.
I mean, anecdotally, I can't recall any comments about lack of parking space in the CBD area and Alex, where it's not normally an issue. A car park around the back here, and you've got side streets, quite a bit on skirt and etc. So,
Any questions? Moving on second. And seconds, all in favour? Heads carried. All you guys have got there for Gareth coming up to Linda, sorry, 24.10.7, and paid 36. 24. Just good morning. Right, you're optimistic today. See, Chris, you can be right.
So today I'm here to ask you to consider a proposal to legalise the road as formed between Rapids 1190 and 1205 Tibet Road. In the last year, the owner of 1190 Tibet Road thought he might build himself a shed on his backyard, and
when the builders came out to talk them through that process, they suggested to him that it may not be his backyard. So as shown on page 126, he had been occupying quite a chunk of legal road there for some time. It's actually got quite a significant hedging down where he thought the boundary was. And while that seemed like a good idea at the time, due to the strange formation of the road that zigzags through the two properties, to legalise that road, we've had to engage with the owner of 1205 and get them on board and to agree for us, council, to take some land under the road that is formed on their property. So in conjunction with that, the proposal is to stop the road that the owner of 1190 Teviot Road is occupying, to take a small piece of lot 2. He has 2 parcels of land and a small part of the road is constructed over lot 2, as shown on page 127. And we would like to take 2 parcels from the adjacent property at 1205 out of part section 122 and another quite out of lot 1. And once the negotiations had progressed somewhat further down the road, the owners of 1205 decided that they would like to also get on board with that, and they are going to purchase the area marked E on page 129. So it will be 2 parcels of road to be stopped and 3 small parcels of road to be taken. And if it is to legalise the road, we are promoting that council pays a third of those costs, and there is a cost sharing agreement between the other 2 parties, given it is driven in particular by one of the parties who would like to build. So if you, actually the other thing was on the 1st of August, the Tibet Valley Community Board did give this some consideration and had recommended that we stop the road as outlined in the. Anybody have any questions?
You offer one.
Yes.
What had there been in the road in the first place?
So I did try to work that out and I haven't been able to quantify it. Like there is a suggestion it was to do with a railway. I can't. Yeah, I can't quantify it, that maybe it was the rest of what it go through. Yeah, so it's in the road. Yeah.
I suspect there is a reason for it, and I'm not the land valuer, but it seemed like there was quite a difference in the valuation for a similar-ish size piece of land.
So when the land is being taken or road, or land being stopped, is not a pure valuation of the land. It is an analysis of what the value of those parcels were before and an analysis of what they would be afterward, after the taking was done. And obviously the smaller parcels on the 1190 side, adding that chunk of land increases that value quite significantly, but given it's a farm and those parcels are actually, it doesn't, the big value of the overall value. So look at it before and you say, what's it worth now, and then you call it after, and what would it be valued at then, and what is the impact of the change in that land area. And so the smaller the area that you obviously start with, and you're adding a chunk to, that has quite a significant impact. Yeah. And the other thing was, it was quite a very challenging negotiation with the second party to the stopping, and they were very hard to work with. So everything was about minimum impact.
Any more questions? Looks like a pretty lot of work being done, and why don't you guys do it? It's not easy over those boundary changes.
It wasn't very challenging. It was probably one of the most challenging, to be honest.
Great, top topic, really. Right, we'll move A, B, and C. This is Sally's, you feel it, take Tamer second it, all those in favour? No. Against, carried.
Stu, you might not be aware that this is Linda's last report to council.
What? Well, I wasn't aware, I heard that at a distributisation meeting the other day, so well done, we're going to miss you a lot.
After how many years, Linda?
17.
Wow. I think there's only 2 people left that were here when I was first on community board. So, for this, so
It's
thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you for your.
Yeah.
Good to come for lunch.
Really enjoyed working, particularly in, property. It's been a very different, beast to deal with compared to rates, and I really loved rates. So yeah, I can't complain about the work. I've loved
Time to
it.
be out of work now, though.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think that.
Thank you for your many years of dedication, and your knowledge and expertise is going to be sorely missed around this table, and I'm sure the organisation in general.
And you, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed the reports. I like writing reports, and apparently that makes me odd, but. I'm all right with that. I'm all right with that. So yeah, I will miss you all.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Next Sunday. I'm presenting.
Okay, Gareth, you're remaining. You're still, right, Gareth, you're still at the head of the table for the report on the Common Memorial of all the floors rules.
So now I can say good afternoon. Your worship did point out that the report's a little bit out of date. This is consistent with it's the same report presented to ELT as well as the Common Community Board. And unfortunately, the new report, which was due last week, couldn't be completed because Paul was quite ill, and he's still ill this week. So that report will come out next week. There are a few moving pieces, and I thought, well, I might as well do some manual updates while I do this project. So the new car park is completely functional now. It'll only wait for seeding season, and there will be a short shutdown time while we seal the car park in 2 halves, and then it'll be completely operational. Tomorrow marks quite a significant day because we've got the footings pour, and this is going to be setting up the foundations for the concrete pad. There's a substantial amount of steel that goes into this, and the footings range from between 1.5 and 1.8 meters. So it's a great milestone. It probably is not that interesting to people outside of construction because it's just got a concrete going in the ground, and it's all going to be covered up basically. There was some talk about easements with Town and Country being a little bit under threat. That has all been resolved. It was due to a bit of a misunderstanding and also then getting the resource consent for the piece of property that they subdivided. But I can assure you it's all been signed, lawyers have all the agreements in place, and we're basically on track. ELT gave us a bit of feedback to provide a little bit more on the budget requirements. So the next report will have a live budget as well as how much has been spent in contingency. So I just want to remind you guys, from a project of this nature, the contingency usually gets spent up front. If we haven't hit our ceiling in contingency, we're not even close to it. But this was the unsure part of the project. And then once we go above ground, which is in about 8 weeks, we're completely at the risk of the construction company, which is very fixed price contract. So 8 weeks time, we are well, it was cost plain sailing next year. Another thing that's just been completed is the asbestos report. The final report's been completed, and I've been going through both the reports that we had done prior to demolition as well as the ones that we had to instigate because we still found asbestos. And I'm going to be taking some advisement from my sponsor Louise as soon as I set a meeting with her and probably Peter as well, just to say this is the way we're going to be moving forward. It is a bit contentious just because of the fact that we are going to be informing WorkSafe that there were some failings in place. This is not to point figures. This is just to make sure that we secure moving forward, and as well as their company had done quite a bit of work for us prior to that as well. We just want to make sure we're getting the right sort of service out of those companies. You can see that a good news story as well, which we will articulate in the next report, is that we've diverted approximately the fact that we managed to do some engineered full mixtures and the levels of contamination are now acceptable, and they're going to be underneath the pad and viewable. So that's a really good story from a sustainability point of view as well. And I'll take any questions.
Questions, Nigel?
Yeah, just going to the budget, I know where this is June you're showing, but you're showing the forecasted completion on this is sitting at somewhere around, I don't know, $44 million.
Yes, that's correct. So contingencies built into the blue line. The grey line doesn't have contingency in it. So we're trying to, so that's what we're hoping to get.
Right.
Yeah, so under budget.
Yeah, so that's looking good at the moment.
At the moment, look,
I know it's early days.
yeah, and we have had a bit of a burden on the spend. There's been some complications, and this is what happens with every site, right? So they excavated part of the car park and they found there was a lot of root matter that was left in place. There was $50,000 we had to spend to put engineered floor back into place. If you don't do that, and you just build on top of that, then you have complications with the car park moving forward. So we're about building a site that I can guarantee death and taxes, right? But as much of a guarantee that I can that this site will be good for the level of service that we've allowed for it. So the car park will only be looked at again in 15 years' time and that type of stuff.
Thank you.
Will any flags go up if you see your budgeting run out? And clearly from this table, there'll be no appetite for an overspend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there things that you can see in advance that would worry you that we can deal with?
100%. So the way we do it is we've got an independent engineering firm called TSA, and they represent us from engineer direct and engineer to contract. And they vet all claims coming through as well as follow all the new programs. So you've got our side from project management and my program management side, and then TSA doing that as well as the principal. So the contractor reports back and everything is on a step-by-step process, right? So toolboxes every Monday. Like I say, we have problems and we work through those problems. We mitigate them upfront. And if there was any danger of us going over and above, before we even commit to that, we'll come back to the table.
Well, there won't be an over and above, effectively.
No, there won't be. And according to the tracking we're on now, we're one.
And if there is savings, we've got to get them because we're the ones who take the punishment in the community.
100%.
So it's got to count. If there is savings, we want them, basically.
Yeah. All right, questions? Maybe.
The service lane construction issue, it says function of CMH is at risk is a concern. How are we looking with resolving that?
No, that's fine. So that was all to do with Eastland as well. So what you want is you want the trucks to be able to come down and turn safely and then come back up again. And that was the whole thing. So we encroach on a little bit of Lindsland and we encroach on a little bit of Town Country's land to get that all in situ. The great thing is because it's a partnership, they require exactly the same easement to get their trucks to be able to turn around as well. So it's a win-win situation. There was just a little bit of a misunderstanding which needed to be cleared up, and we're all good.
Perfect. So that orange will amber or green, the next report.
Yeah.
Righty, everyone's happy. Nervous.
It's about leadership from now on, Tim.
I reckon, hey. Okay, so taking myself back to the start, I think we're just receiving this, haven't we? So I'll move we receive it, and Cheryl will second that. All those in favour? Aye, against, carried. Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you. So that leaves things regrettably to me. So I guess I've got the report written there, but in the interim. Oh, why didn't I do that? I just put a line through it. Saskia, I did say regrettably. I was surprised that it was me because I was like, oh, Saskia, please.
Thank you. If I won't take up your time now, so this is all forward. So this is our annual business plan that we present and we track performance against. So you can see in our plan this year that we've got 4 aspirational areas, and then we list out how we're going to go about achieving that. So as per normal, you'll get a quarterly report. The difference this year is we have added in performance measures. and we'll report on the ones that you've cleaned. So we do have a lot of annual measures, that come from the annual, customer service survey that we do, but those that we can, we will give you sort of a bit of a sense of how we're tracking during the year. This has been raised by audit several times that we don't look at them until the end of the year. And we previously had for those longer serving councils, remember that quarterly report that we used to put up, it's quite a decent document. So we are looking to give you better visibility of how the tracking performance across this organisation. And apologies from Christina, she's unexpectedly on leave today. Otherwise she would have been here. Any questions?
Nigel?
Not a question, but a comment. I noticed on the first page of your SWOT analysis, you've got as one of your top threats is high growth, which surprised me. I would have thought that high growth would have been sitting in the opportunities column, not the high threat column.
And I think that's a really good observation. So when we went through it, it's really around our organisation's ability to respond quick. So within our staffing capacity, within our financial limits. So that's why ELT, because you're absolutely right, it's an opportunity. But for this next year, with the restraint, that's how ELT landed in that column. However, we are happy to take further feedback if you feel strongly that we've got that wrong.
I could perhaps add to that, that's how we service land, how we deliver land, how we keep them ahead of our plan changes to accommodate the growth. It is both an opportunity and a challenge to us.
Yeah. And many of them you can spot in either, depending on how you look at it, yeah. And I think that's a fair comment.
It's really nothing but to improve organisational practices. You just got the people and culture strategy in twice.
So we've got it twice. Oh.
Oh,
we have two. Thanks for making that's been our oversight. Really want to proofread this really well.
All right, nothing further to ask you.
Just one about building trust in the community. That's pretty hard to do when we're changing at all levels in government, policy changing, and we seem to be flip-flopping on things. It's pretty hard. A lot of distrust out there now, I should say, anyway.
Yeah, very challenging, and why we've got that as an aspiration, because our role is to serve the community. So while it is really challenging, as officers, we need to do everything we can to make that best as possible. So that was some of the logic as to why we put that in.
A couple of questions, but hopefully if not already, so I just had to take a handle. In a country undergoing a pothole crisis, 97% smooth travel exposure is amazing work.
What's that, sorry?
97% smooth travel exposure, it's called.
Oh, and the performance measures?
And the performance measures, yes. I think smooth travel exposure is quite a great term. And then I just had a couple of questions about some of the numbers and the performance measures, if that's all right.
Yes, yes.
On page 142, looking at planning, resource consents processed within statutory timeframes, we're at 58.39%. With the recent new appointments, how close are we to having the staffing and resources to meet this target?
I need to go back to the way. So we have some recent appointments, so we've obviously got a bid there, and the starting news is we've actually made an offer for a manager, so fingers crossed that will be accepted, and that will build the team closer to what we need to deliver on that. So we're definitely on the road to and looking at our processes, improvement of our competitive that prediction on November.
That steps in the right direction. Yeah, it's promising. And then there were just somewhere we haven't met the targets are in red, but then the further you get through the document, they're not in red anymore. Oh, if we can cover that.
Oh, I think that was a great editing oversight by myself as well. I will follow up with Christina on that.
Just some stuff. There was some in the pools And again, on page 143 in the service centre, where we've said we want to be over 90% and over 80% for a whole heap, and we're not, and they're not in red, just to make sure we keep the pressure on those.
Yeah.
The focus, the highlights.
Oh, very happy.
That's your team down.
He's done me.
That's nice.
He's done me now. Gonna keep the pressure on Dave.
Yeah, we can make sure we do that for when we look back.
Awesome, thank you.
That's it. Anyone else? Yep.
I'm just thinking it's still the same. Same, yes, 207.7%, that is good news.
With the staffing turnover,
Yeah.
that's the current number, we think?
It's shifted about 1.6% in the last month, but it's.
But still wonder that 10% is.
Yeah. And significantly reduced from the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Why is there such a staff turnover in the pool?
That's helpful. So Lindy's just asked a question around the high staff turnover of pools. Some of that is the seasonal nature of the pools. And then we have within our pools, we do have like high school and university students. So of course, when they go back, go to uni, they leave and whatnot. David, any further comment? That's my guidance.
Yeah. All right. So on move we receive the report, saying we'll do that, and Sarah seconded it. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll come back to me. Dealt with that. Before I go to the written report, just noting the Prime Minister's comments at LGNZ conference last week. It was a pretty brutal speech, to be fair, those of us who were there. And I think a lot of what was said needed to be said, but I'd have to say the way of saying it was pretty suboptimal for an organisation that was supposed to be in some degree of partnership or cohesion with, but he had a point to make and he chose to make it very, very clearly and very strongly. There's a couple of parts to it that we don't know what it means yet. I wasn't there when the full wellbeings were taken out last time, but I was there when they came back in and I didn't notice an ounce of difference. So I suspect though this time around it won't be that simple, and there is a couple of things being looked at based on Australian models for the government to enforce, I guess is the word, that edict. So the question is, does the full wellbeings being taken out of the law mean that we are not to do it, or not to play in those spaces, or does it mean that we're not encouraged to? And time will tell on that. Although I did know from Local Government Minister Simeon Brown on Q&A on Sunday, when he was asked about Takina, which was the fantastic venue we were in, which is running at a loss, as all those venues do, as one up the road from us will. He said, well, you know, it's designed to bring money into the economy, to which the Local Government Minister replied, that's not core business of local government. I don't know, if we're not looking after the social, economic, cultural and environmental parts of our community, who the hell does? And, I just don't know, but time will tell. And I always say, the government is the government. They are there to do their thing, and our thing is to make our way through that, and we will. But I think for the LTP next year, and I commented during the grants round, we cannot ignore, we will not ignore what was said, because it was said very deliberately, very forcefully, and we need to take notice of it, because the government is the government. So to my actual report, obviously, already commented, as the Tamer, Finn Butcher and Nicole Shields, goodness gracious me, what a time of it. Plans are afoot. We are looking at welcoming Finn, or congratulating Finn officially on October the 26th, which is the Saturday of Labour weekend. The event that's planned, we'll keep the details of that secret just for now until we've got it. It's going to be full. It's going to be better than just a cucumber sandwich in the town hall, believe me. But because of the nature of it, we couldn't do it while he was home, because he was home Monday to Friday last week. There was no evenings, and you know, it's going to be outdoors. So it's going to be really neat. Nicole Shields is lined up to be officially recognised, but it's not for me to say how that will be done. And the person who can announce that isn't here.
I've been very busy, as have a lot of other councillors and staff members, and I particularly want to thank Peter for his constant being by my side while I do the distributisation, or while we do the distributisation discussion around the district, as you'd expect. It depends on where you are, what a reception you get. Certainly it was a cold and chilly night, both inside and outside the Commonwealth Presbyterian Church. Although, as per usual in local government, the vast majority of people there did. Those who did say what they thought were pretty much a given. But we've got a big decision in front of us on the 25th of September. What you call it? The submissions closed on Saturday. What you call it? And I don't know what else we can do to get the public engaged. And I still think we'll be that massive middle of the bell curve that goes well. And last night, we have 36 people on the online. Yeah, some stage during the online, which is still available for people to see. So, yeah, I don't know what we do, and we'll see how we go next month. It's going to be a big decision for the members around the table. Still working our way through the latest round of announcements on the Three Waters. I'm not going to add to that. I just want to congratulate again, I did it last time, but Sally on being one of the 3 finalists at the LGNZ Local Hero Award, and to be a finalist among 67 councils is a magnificent achievement. And the person who won, I think, had done 50 years service or something. So, you're devastating.
Get through distributisation, you might get 50 years.
So congratulations, it was marvellous, and it was just a wonderful thing to be there on the nights the Central Otago District Council. That's 8 years I've been there, and that's the first time we've had a finalist. And I don't think we've had one before that. So well done. I was at the opening of the new Health Central building in Alex. Absolutely massive statement of faith in Central Otago, and one well borne out when you read the economic data that we've had. I attended the Air New Zealand Stakeholders Forum in July, which is a great trip to go on. Not everybody gets to go. Not every council is represented. It's places that they see as important to their tourism offering. And I was very privileged to sit at dinner. It was seated, so you know, I didn't just grab the first seat, but I got to sit opposite Greg Foran. And when you're sitting in front of the former CEO of the world's largest retailer, it's an interesting night. It was great, and I'm still trying to get him to come down and ride his bike on their trails and keep working. So that's my report. If anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I'll move it. Okay, I'll second it. Oh, all those in favour? Aye. It's carried. Governance report, page 146, which encompasses status reports and the organisational business plan. Anybody got any questions or comments? Lindley?
Can I just ask about Plan Change 22? It closed, the submissions are closed on the 22nd of August. Were there any appeals? I don't think there were.
It said there wasn't at that stage.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
So what happens next? It just becomes operational? That might lose me.
Well, the page isn't just the Night Sky one, isn't it?
Just the Night Sky, Plan Change, page 23. So it's like the appeals closed on the 22nd, and it did say here that there weren't any up till then.
So there'll be a report back to council to make it up for that.
Okay, that's another month.
So no appeals to take it.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of anything, so.
Oh, that's great. That's brilliant news. Anyone got anything else? I'm just quickly scrolling through. Sally.
Yeah, I was just going to mention on page 175, LGNZ set the following priorities. One was a 4-year term. Tim and I went to a breakfast with Nick Smith in Wellington last week, and they actually set out around the local electoral reform 4 priorities. The first one was increasing voter turnout. The second one was the implementation and transition to a 4-year term. The third one was considering the ways people can vote. And the fourth one was who should administer local elections and how they are best run. And Nick Smith's chairing that group, so we're going to hear more from him.
Yeah, it was really interesting, despite the negative there at the start.
Yeah.
And really interesting to hear Nick Smith, given he's the Minister of the Crown for a long time, because when it comes to voting, everybody goes make it online, and there is absolutely no way. The baddies will always keep ahead of the goodies when it comes to online voting, and we would be taking ourselves into really dangerous territory if we went online. And then he showed, I've taken a photograph of it, of the decline in the use of post in New Zealand, and actually quite handy. It's about twice as steep as the prism line on the Pink Floyd thing there. I mean, post's just gone. And actually, interestingly, a significant number of people don't even have a post box. They don't even have a box outside their house.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? That leaves us with a polling day. So
And that shows what even steeper, wasn't it?
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. I felt really, I think that was one of the best presentations of the whole conference that makes sense a lot.
And that he also said that they're focusing on those 4 things because they're the 4 things that they think they've got the best chance of getting through and without distraction, because someone did bring up voter age. Can we reduce that? And they said, we think that we should be focusing on these priorities because these are the ones that we think we've got the best chance to get through.
It's going to be really hard to vote turning out. It looks terrible.
Yeah.
Massively important. Celebrities nearly been standing for their profile 38%.
Yeah.
And that's something we've got to take on when we make our decisions. And a lot of those people aren't engaged. How many of those people jumped up and down at distributisation meetings that didn't vote?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and they tell you how to think, and I've got staff like that tell you every day what's going on. Never voted.
How many people have I seen under 50 at a distributisation meeting? I don't think I've seen one.
I know we a staff member that came in with his son.
And there was one box, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there might have been a box. I can't remember.
I definitely was.
Oh, yeah, there was. Yeah, there was.
But very much, yeah, it's hard to get people motivated. But and interesting how long one female member of the council.
She's amazing.
She is amazing.
Yeah. She wants more females. So.
And Marty Drysdale is a big rig.
Yeah, he is.
He's a big rig boy. Wow. Okay.
I just had one comment.
Yes.
I went over to Central Stories and I just wanted to say a big shout out to both the library staff and to Paula for the harmonious working together in a tight space, because it is, to put the library in there while we're pending the do-up is quite something. So
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it looks really good. Everyone seems to be happy and there's lots of kids and so no, it was good.
It's buzzing. And make sure you go and see Interstellar and the movie while it's on, because it's literally out of this world. Okay, I'll move those reports. They're accepted. Yep, Tracy will second that. Thank you. Community board reports and minutes on page 177. I think that's just the Vincent board, is it?
No, they're all there.
Yeah, right. Someone will move them. Thank you, Tamer, seconded Stu. All those in favour? Aye. Against carried. Date of our next meeting, I don't even need to look. It's the 25th of September, and I look forward to everyone's attendance at that one. It's a very important one for us. And for the reasons given on page 204, I'll resolve that we move on to the next paper and just progress that one. But Julie, marvellous to have you here again. Thank you for your dedication and time to come report on local government. Because because if you don't report, we're going to even less people taking interest, I think. So I'm trying to second that exclusion of the public. All those in favour? Aye. Against carried. Thank you. Pause for a couple of minutes while we swap cameras, but that's
Very good.